They said the square held its breath that afternoon. Dust hung in the light like tiny secrets. Someone dropped a coin and everyone heard it. A white horse stood in the corral, still as a held note. And she, calm, steady, said in a clear voice, "I will only kiss the man who can break that horse." Mouths opened. Bets started. Pride woke up. But the horse did not blink. The town worked like any small place did. Slow mornings, long heat, short tempers. I had come back to help my aunt with her shop after my father died. I swept the doorway and watched men packed tight around the corral. "She really said it?" I asked. Marta, my old friend, nodded without looking away. "She said it and she meant it." The white horse tossed its head once and a ripple ran through the crowd. "He's not mean," Marta said. "He's tired of men who think rope is love." I glanced at her. "You sound like her." Marta smiled without humor. "Maybe I listen." The mayor climbed the little stage. "Order," he said, waving his hat. One by one. No fighting. Laughter rose anyway. Julian, the field's favorite, rolled his shoulders and jumped the fence. "Watch and learn," he called. The horse turned a slow half-circle as if measuring him. Julian threw a loop. It missed. Again, someone yelled. He threw harder. The rope brushed the neck. The horse rose 2 clean seconds of air and slammed down. Julian fell so fast the crowd forgot to laugh, then remembered and did. I felt a pinch of shame. The woman who made the rule, Valeria, did not smile. She watched the horse, not the men. She looked like her father. An old ranch hand near me murmured. "He always said a horse is a mirror." A skinny boy climbed a barrel to see better. "Do you think anyone can do it?" he asked me. "Maybe," I said. "But not like that." "Then how?" he pressed. I didn't answer because I did not know yet and because the truth felt close and skittish. By sunset, 3 men limped away and 2 shirts tore. The horse's flanks shone with sweat, but his eyes stayed clear. Valeria folded her arms. For a breath, her jaw trembled. "Enough for today," the mayor shouted. As the crowd broke, the horse turned toward the fence where I stood and took one quiet step. Marta caught my sleeve. "Did you see that?" she whispered. I nodded. "He picked someone." "Who?" she asked. I swallowed. "I think he picked all of us who are still listening." Night fell like a thin sheet over the town, and the air kept the day's whispers. I could not sleep. From my window I saw the corral lantern sway and lay long lines of light across the dust. Marta knocked once and came in without waiting. "You're awake," she said. "So are you," I answered. We stood there quiet until she asked, "Why did you look at the horse like that?" I tried to laugh it off. "Like what?" "Like he said your name," she said. I shook my head. "He did not. He only asked for a little peace." Before dawn, the church bell rang for market day. By the time the sun pushed past the rooftops, men were already in line. The mayor wiped his brow. "We keep order today," he warned. Julian, sore but proud, pointed at me. "You think you can do better?" I met his eyes. "I think better means different." He snorted. "Words." Behind him, a carpenter whispered, "Maybe words are the rope we forgot." Valeria stood at the fence with her hands tucked under her elbows. I walked closer. "You look tired," I said. "He looked tired," she answered. "I made a rule to protect my choice. I did not plan a circus." I nodded. "Then change the music." She turned her head the smallest bit. "And what music would that be?" "Quiet," I said and surprised myself. The first man of the day went in with a new plan. No rope, only sugar on his palm. The horse sniffed and turned away. Laughter rose. The man took a step faster, then another, and the horse lifted his head high, warning clear as a bell. "Stop," I called. The man glanced at me. "Who are you to say stop?" "Someone who can see." He already said no, I replied. The mayor backed me. "Out, please." The man cursed, but he left. A woman near the gate whispered, "Is the horse cursed?" Valeria answered her flat. "He is not cursed. He is not a test you pass by tricks." The whisper stirred the line. "Then what is he?" I said it before I could hold it back. "He is a door. If you push it, it shuts. If you knock, it opens." Marta touched my arm. "You should try," she breathed. My mouth went dry. "I do not even have a saddle." She smiled. "Maybe that is the point." Valeria heard us and spoke low. "If you step in, do it slow. And if you fall, do not call it the horse's fault." "I won't," I said, though my hands already shook. The second day pulled more people than the first. Traders who had never cared for horses now leaned on the fences, eager to witness pride break bones. The smell of roasted maize mixed with sweat and dust. Every corner of the plaza buzzed with wagers, whispers, and sharp laughter. The horse paced in the corral, white coat streaked with dust, eyes like flint. He had grown restless under so many stares, but no one seemed to notice except Valeria. She leaned near me when I came close. "Do you hear them?" she asked. The crowd was loud enough to rattle glass, yet her voice slid through it. "I hear them," I said. "They want a show." She shook her head. "They want blood. I gave them this game and now I regret it." I looked at her. "Then let them leave with silence. Do not give them what they want." The mayor clapped his hands. "Next." A burly miner rolled his shoulders, rope thick as his arm. He spat on the ground and muttered, "Beast won't throw me." Valeria's face tightened. The miner lunged, swinging the loop high. The horse spun with a grace that mocked his weight, dust curling like smoke around his hooves. The rope snapped useless in the air. Another swing, miss. Another, miss. The crowd jeered. He roared and charged, and the horse bolted past him, brushing his shoulders so hard the man staggered. He cursed, red-faced, and stormed out. Marta laughed softly. Pride falls harder than a man. Then she glanced at me. "You still thinking?" I sighed. "I am trying not to." As the sun rose higher, more men failed. One slipped in the dust, another nearly broke his ankle, and one fainted from the heat before he even touched the rope. The crowd turned the failures into theater, cheering for each stumble. Children climbed barrels to see better. An old woman crossed herself and whispered, "This is not a game, it is punishment." By noon, sweat dripped down Valeria's temples. She called out, "Enough for today." The crowd groaned. "Tomorrow," someone shouted. "Don't stop now." But she held firm. "The horse is not yours to waste. Go home." As people scattered, I stayed by the fence. The horse stopped pacing and looked at me. His breath puffed white in the hot air. Marta whispered, "He sees you." I said nothing. But when I turned to leave, Valeria's eyes met mine. She said only one word, soft, steady, "Soon." That night the tavern shook with noise. Men slapped tables, boasting of how close they had come, how the horse had flinched, how tomorrow would be theirs. A fiddler scraped out tunes while mugs clinked, but beneath the cheers sat bruised egos. I sat in the corner with Marta, my drink untouched. She nudged me. "You hear how they talk?" None of them saw the horse. They only saw themselves. The door opened and a cool draft cut through the smoke. A stranger walked in, broad hat, dust on his coat, quiet eyes that searched the room but landed on no one. He bought water, not wine, and sat alone. The talk around him slowed, then picked up again, but I kept watching. Marta whispered, "He's not from here." I nodded. "That may be why he looks like he's listening." Morning came with restless air. The plaza filled before the sun cleared the rooftops. Valeria stood tall in a pale dress, her braid tight, her face unreadable. The mayor barked orders, lining men up. But the stranger was already at the fence, leaning with arms folded, not asking for a turn. The horse saw him and froze mid-step, ears tilting forward. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Julian scoffed. "He thinks staring wins." He climbed into the corral again, rope ready. Valeria's mouth tightened, but she did not stop him. Julian swung hard, caught the horse's neck, and yanked. For a breath it looked like triumph. Then the horse rose, white against the sky, and crashed down. Julian tumbled, rope burning his palms. The crowd gasped, half in awe, half in glee. He limped out, teeth gritted, pride in tatters. The stranger finally spoke, voice low but clear. "You pull at a storm and expect calm?" Laughter erupted. "What do you know, outsider?" someone shouted. He did not answer. He only looked at the horse again, as if the noise around him did not exist. Valeria noticed. She walked closer, her tone clipped. "You plan to try?" The stranger tipped his hat. "Not today." "Then why stand here?" she pressed. His eyes flicked to hers. "Because he is telling you he is tired. Someone should hear it." The square fell into a hush. It was the first time anyone had spoken of the horse without calling him demon or beast. Marta squeezed my arm. "Did you hear?" I nodded, though my chest already knew. The story had turned. The fourth night carried a strange calm. The tavern noise thinned, as if men had grown weary of their own boasting. From my window I saw the stranger again, this time standing by the corral long after the crowd had gone. The white horse did not pace, he only breathed, heavy and slow. The man leaned on the fence, saying nothing, and for a moment it seemed as though both had agreed to share the silence. By dawn, the square was swollen with visitors from nearby towns. Merchants dragged carts, women carried baskets, and children clung to fences. The mayor shouted until his voice cracked, trying to keep order. The first contestant, a ranch hand with scars on his arms, stepped inside. He bowed toward Valeria before facing the horse. He lasted 3 steps before the dust took him. Another man followed, then another. Each one fell quicker than the last. Whispers ran through the crowd. No one can do it. Maybe it's cursed. Maybe she asks the impossible. Valeria stood firm, though her lips pressed thin. Marta nudged me. Do you see her hands? They shake. I did see. She clutched the rail as if it held her upright. The stranger moved closer. Why let this go on? He asked her plainly. She met his gaze. Because if I stop, they will say I feared them. They will never stop chasing unless they see the truth themselves. He nodded. Then let them see. A tall logger entered next, rope thick, steps heavy. He swung hard, caught air, and landed flat in the dirt. The crowd howled. Some laughed, others muttered. The mayor raised his hat. Enough for today, he bellowed. But the stranger lifted his hand. One more, he said. The square hushed. Valeria's eyes narrowed. And you? She asked. He shook his head. Not me. Him. He pointed toward me. The weight of the stairs fell all at once. Marta gasped. He means you, she whispered. My knees nearly buckled. Valeria searched my face. Is that true? Do you mean to step in? My throat dried. I don't know. The stranger's eyes held mine steady. Then know this, he already chose you. All that's left is whether you choose him back. The crowd murmured louder, half in disbelief, half in thrill. I felt the fence under my hand, rough and solid. The horse lifted his head, eyes fixed on me, waiting. The corral seemed larger when I stepped toward it, though I had not yet crossed the fence. Every sound of the plaza dulled, the traders, the children, even the mayor's warnings. I heard only my own heartbeat. Marta whispered behind me, if you go, go slow. Her voice shook as much as mine would have. Valeria's eyes caught mine. No rope? She asked. I shook my head. If I use one, he'll see another fight. He's had enough of those. Her lips parted, almost a smile, almost doubt. Then what will you use? I drew a breath. Time. The crowd laughed, a jagged sound that cut the morning. He'll walk in and stand like a tree, someone mocked. But the stranger, leaning by the post, gave the smallest nod, as if to say I had already spoken the right answer. The mayor lifted his arm. Let him try. The word spread like fire. I swung a leg over the fence and landed soft in the dust. The white horse's ears flicked back, then forward. His hooves shuffled once, restless but not hostile. I did not move closer. Instead I lowered my eyes a little, not in fear but in respect. Minutes dragged. The sun pressed heavy and sweat rolled down my neck. Murmurs rose from the crowd. He does nothing. He is afraid. Still I stayed still, breathing slow. Then the horse exhaled, loud and steady. His head lowered an inch. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. I spoke, quiet enough that only Valeria and the stranger might hear. I don't want to break you. I only want to stand with you. The horse flicked his tail and stamped, but his eyes softened. I took one step. He did not back away. Closer, Marta whispered, though she wrung her hands. I lifted my hand halfway, palm open. The horse stretched his neck, nostrils wide, then huffed warm air across my skin. The crowd fell silent. For a second, even the mayor's jaw hung slack. Valeria's voice broke the hush. That is the first time he has touched a man without striking. She looked at me with something unreadable, fear, hope, maybe both. The stranger's mouth curved faintly. But before the moment could deepen, the horse jerked his head, startled by a boy's sudden shout from the fence. Dust swirled as he pulled back, hooves pounding. The crowd roared again, half in thrill, half in alarm. My hand still tingled with the warmth of his breath. The corral shook with the horse's fury. He circled fast, white coat streaked with sweat, tail lashing. The boy who had shouted ducked behind his father, and the crowd jeered at him, but the damage was done. The moment was broken. I stayed still, hands open, waiting for the dust to settle. Valeria stepped to the rail, her voice sharp. Enough. He is tired. But the men shouted back. One more chance. Let him prove it. The mayor raised his hands for quiet, though his eyes flicked nervously between me and the horse. Marta called out, if he rushes, he'll ruin it. Let him wait. Some laughed. Wait? You think patience rides a horse? But the stranger's voice cut through. Patience is the only saddle that fits. That silenced even the boldest. The horse slowed, hooves grinding the dust. His chest heaved, but his ears turned toward me again. I took one careful step. He did not flinch. Another step. Still he stayed. The crowd leaned forward as one body, holding breath. I spoke again, steady this time. They all come with rope and rage. I came with nothing. You can send me out if you wish. His nostrils widened. He shook his mane, then lowered his head enough that the rope marks on his neck caught the sun. The scarred hair made the crowd murmur. He remembers, an old rancher whispered. I reached my hand once more. He pressed his muzzle against my palm, light but real. The crowd gasped. Children squealed, women crossed themselves, and even the mayor whispered, "By God." Valeria's face softened, yet she said nothing. Her eyes glistened, though she blinked fast to hide it. The stranger watched me, not smiling, not cheering, only measuring what came next. And then a man in the crowd shouted, "Touch his back. If you dare." The crowd picked it up, chanting, "On his back. On his back." The horse's ears flicked, uneasy again. I turned toward them, anger rising. He is not a ladder for your pride. But Valeria surprised me, she raised her hand to quiet them. She looked at me, her voice low but firm. If he lets you, only if he lets you, then you may. Her words carried over the fence, silencing the chant. My heart thundered. Slowly, I laid my hand along the horse's neck. He snorted once, then stood still. For the first time, I thought it might be possible. And that frightened me more than falling ever could. The plaza had gone so quiet that even the creak of the wooden rail sounded like thunder. My hand rested on the horse's neck, warm and damp, his breath steady against my arm. He did not move away. Someone whispered, "It's a trick," but no one dared speak louder. I slid my hand slowly across his shoulder, waiting at each pause. The horse's skin twitched, but he stayed rooted. "He accepts you," Marta murmured, though her hands were clasped tight at her chest. The mayor wiped his forehead. "If he mounts, the town will remember it forever," he muttered to himself. I leaned closer, whispering, "If you want me off, just move." My words felt foolish in front of so many, but the horse flicked his ear as though he understood. Carefully, I pressed a little weight against him. He shifted once but did not bolt. Gasps rose from the fence. Then a voice shouted from the crowd. It was Julian, bitter and raw. "Don't let him win with tricks. Make him ride for real." His friends echoed him. The horse startled, lifting his head sharply. Dust swirled, tension snapping back into the air. Valeria's voice cut like steel. "Quiet. Every man before used force. And you failed. If he rides, it is because the horse allowed it." Her words carried power. The chanting died. All eyes fixed on me. I steadied my breath, then swung a knee gently, pressing it against the horse's side. He shifted but did not kick. I eased myself half up, then stopped, waiting. The horse trembled under me, not in fear but in decision. For a long moment nothing moved. Then, with a snort, he lowered his head and stood still, accepting the weight. The plaza erupted, shouts, claps, cries of disbelief. Some cheered, some cursed, some fell to their knees as if they had seen a miracle. Valeria's hand flew to her mouth. She whispered, almost to herself, "He chose." Her eyes brimmed, and for the first time since this began, her shoulders eased. But Julian shoved through the crowd, his face red. "It's not real," he barked. "He tricked us all." He reached for the fence as if to climb in. The horse pinned his ears and stamped the ground, a warning sharp as a blade. Julian froze. The mayor's men pulled him back, muttering curses. Above the noise, the stranger's voice carried, calm and steady. This was never about breaking. It was about being trusted. His words fell over the crowd like water on fire. The horse beneath me blew a long breath and I felt his chest ease. And for the first time I allowed myself to breathe with him. The air buzzed with disbelief. Children tugged at their mothers' sleeves, men argued in sharp whispers, and women pressed hands to their lips as though holding in a cry. The white horse stood beneath me, calm, steady, not conquered but willing. I dared not move too quickly, afraid the spell would break. The mayor stepped forward, his voice rough with awe. "The trial is complete." Yet even as he spoke, grumbles rose. Some men shook their heads. It was luck. The beast was tired. Julian shouted again from behind the guards. "He didn't ride, he perched. Let him gallop if he dares." The crowd stirred with the challenge, hungry for more. My chest tightened. I could feel the horse's muscles under me, tense but patient. I leaned forward, whispering into his ear, "We don't owe them. We owe only truth." He flicked his ear back as if answering. Valeria lifted her chin. Her voice was strong, though her eyes glistened. He has done what no man here could. The horse allowed him. That is enough. Her words stilled some but not all. A smith bellowed, then let her keep her promise. Murmurs of agreement rolled like thunder. She walked into the corral, skirts brushing the dust. The crowd held its breath. She stopped in front of me, the horse between us. For a moment she only looked up, her face unreadable. Then she said, soft enough that only I heard, "They think this is about me. They're wrong. But I will not shame the vow." She reached up, and the horse lowered his head as if granting permission. Her lips brushed my cheek, a kiss light as air. Gasps burst from the crowd, a mixture of joy, envy, and shock. Marta covered her mouth, whispering, "It happened." But the horse shifted, restless again. I slid down from his back, landing quietly on the dust. He nudged my shoulder once before stepping away, free and unbound. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half raging. The mayor raised his hat for silence. It is done. The vow is sealed. Yet I knew the story was not finished. I saw the bitterness burning in Julian's eyes, and the unease in Valeria's. This was not a fairy tale ending. Something larger stirred beneath the surface. Resentment, pride, and the question of what it truly meant to be chosen. The stranger, still leaning by the post, met my eyes at last. He nodded once and said, "Now the real test begins." The square did not calm even after the mayor's words. Some men stormed toward the tavern, cursing under their breath, while others crowded closer to the corral, desperate to touch the rails that had held such a moment. Children darted about, mimicking the horse's snort and my careful steps, turning it all into play. Yet under the laughter, a low hum of unrest lingered. Valeria stood beside me, her face pale but resolute. "They will not let it rest," she whispered. "For them this is not about truth, only about pride." I nodded. Pride is hungrier than hunger itself. She looked at me sharply, as if my words carried a weight she already feared. Julian broke free of the guards at last and pointed a shaking finger. "He is no hero. He tricked the beast with waiting. Tomorrow I will try again. I will prove stronger." His voice cracked, but the anger carried it across the plaza. A few men clapped his back in hollow support. Others looked away, ashamed for him. The stranger finally stepped forward, the first time since he had spoken. "You already lost," he said to Julian. His tone was calm, but the words cut. "Not because you fell. Because you still believed the horse was something to beat." Julian spat at the dirt and turned away, but his silence betrayed the wound. As the crowd thinned, I walked with Valeria toward the edge of the plaza. Marta hurried to my side, whispering fiercely, "They will twist this. They will say it was chance or that she kissed you too soon." I sighed. "Let them. Their words do not change what happened." Valeria stopped at the gate of her hacienda. She placed her hand on the wood, then turned to me. "You think it is over? But it has only begun. Tomorrow they will gather again. They will demand more, always more." Her eyes softened. "But I saw what I needed. He chose you, not them." "And I?" She stopped, catching her breath as though saying more would undo her resolve. From the corral, the horse whinnied, sharp and clear in the night air. It echoed through the narrow streets, stirring shudders and whispers. The stranger, passing us slowly, tipped his hat and said, "The beast speaks truer than men. Listen to him and you'll find your way." I watched Valeria watch the horse, and in her eyes flickered something deeper than victory, a question neither of us yet knew how to answer. The morning carried a heavy stillness, as if even the birds had chosen silence. I rose early and walked to the corral. The horse stood calm, head lowered, chewing slowly at the grass. His sides no longer heaved, and the scars along his neck caught the pale light. I rested my hand on the fence and whispered, "They will come again, but you owe them nothing." He flicked his ear, quiet but listening. By midday the square swelled once more. Caravans rolled in from nearby towns, strangers pushing through for a glimpse of the horse, of Valeria, of me. The mayor raised his arms. "Today is not for new trials," he declared. "The vow has been fulfilled." But murmurs rose, restless and bitter. "Too easy," some grumbled. "Not fair," others hissed. Julian climbed a barrel, shouting, "He has no right to the prize. He never proved strength, only trickery." The crowd stirred like a hive. Valeria stepped forward, her voice slicing through. "Strength is not rope. Strength is not bruises. Strength is trust. If you cannot see it, you are blind." Her words shook them, but the anger clung stubbornly. Marta squeezed my arm. "You must speak." My mouth felt dry, yet I called out, "Do Do you not see? Each man who tried before me used force and the horse gave nothing. Only when he was given choice did he allow me near. That is not weakness, it is honor. A hush followed, though eyes still darted with doubt. Then the stranger raised his voice for the first time before them all. If you make a beast bow by pain, you win nothing but scars. But if he bows by choice, then you have met a soul, not an animal. And that is the greater gift. The crowd wavered, their fury tangled with shame. Valeria stepped closer to me, her hand brushing mine where no one could see. They may never understand, she whispered. But I do. The horse neighed sharply, stamping once as if to seal the words. Even Julian, standing high, fell into silence. The crowd slowly broke apart, leaving murmurs trailing like smoke. That night at her hacienda, Valeria looked out across the hills. You gave me more than an answer, she said. You gave me a way to live in peace with my own vow. I had no reply, only the sense that something had ended and something larger had begun.